Hello and welcome to the Fierce Urgency of Now in Today's Schools podcast. I am Dr. Cynthia Mama J. Johnson, a voice of hope in education, and I will be your host. Thank you for joining me for another episode. Before we get into this episode today, I want to take a moment to remind you why we are gathering at this time. The Fierce Urgency of Now in Today's Schools podcast is dedicated, committed to disrupting, interrupting, and dismantling barriers to changing student outcomes in our nation's schools. Our students need us now more than ever before. So let's come together and figure out what needs to be done to take students and education to a whole new level. Today, I am ecstatic about our guest that's here today with us. She is an award-winning educator in the area of engineering and STEM and design. She has worked in family engagement. She is doing the hard work every single day in Clark County School District in Las Vegas. So welcome with me today, Ekuwah Mends Moses. Welcome in.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor and a joy to be here in conversation with you today. I appreciate the invitation.
Well, thank you for being here. And I just want to say this. I was going to save it for later, but I just have to say it. This is a full circle moment right now. I never knew you growing up as a child, but I have to say how honored I was to have your mother as my first college advisor,
Oh.
and how she encouraged me. And all these years later, here we are, not in the same town of Warrensburg, Missouri, but here you are. I'm in the Kansas City area. You're in Las Vegas, and here we are coming together on this podcast. So I'm ecstatic to have you here. And like I said, to be able to experience this moment with you. I believe that things happen for divine reasons, and you're part of that divine reason and things right now.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
So Ekuwah, this is what I want to do. I mean, I've just told a little bit. I mean, you sent me a bio. There's so many things that you've done with family engagement and literacy and STEM and all these things and award winning. Talk to us and tell us about your journey and the work that you do every single day.
Wow, my journey has been incredible, taking me from small town Warrensburg, and I'm so amazed how our Warrensburg community instilled so much in the both of us.
Yes.
So back in 2001, when I graduated from CMSU in Warrensburg, Missouri, I couldn't find a job in Warrensburg, Missouri in December as a teacher. And so I thought I was going to go directly to graduate school. That didn't happen because I didn't get my acceptance letters in time.
Right.
And so I came out to Las Vegas in November of that year for a
Okay.
conference. It was the National Association of Multicultural Education, and I was presenting my undergraduate McNair Scholar research. And
Woo!
there was a big sign at the event hall that said, "Come teach in Las Vegas." And I thought, well, there isn't any teaching jobs, graduate school, those acceptances haven't arrived yet. So, hey, let's see. So I interviewed, and right there on the spot, they hired me.
Oh my gosh.
I Yeah, so I moved across the country. I started teaching the next week in a classroom. I had 33 fifth
Wow.
graders. Um, yeah, it was overwhelming to say the least, being a mid-year hire. So I did fifth grade, and then I did second grade while I was working on my master's degree. And then I did literacy, and I became a learning strategist and then a literacy specialist for many years. And
Wow.
as you know, our district makes lots of changes for all kinds
Yes.
of different reasons. And so
Yes.
they decided that instead of being literacy specialists, we want instructional coaches who can train teachers on reading and math. So
Okay.
then I became an instructional coach for many years, not many actually, it was only a couple before the district made more changes. And then I went to family engagement and I was there, as you mentioned, for 7 years. And that was very transformational to my
Right.
understanding of families and working with families. And then more changes. So I found myself looking for a job in the district, obviously, when
Yeah.
they cut the family position. And I tell you that, sometimes we make plans for ourselves, but there's something else at work.
Yes. Yes.
And this has been a life-changing experience for me. Teaching engineering now. I'm a specialist teacher, so I teach K through 5.
Wow.
So the students go to music, art, PE, library, and then engineering. And I teach 700, almost 800 students on a 7-day rotation. So I see the entire school. And so I'm able to have that impact much greater than just my classroom. And I'm able to see the kids, the students, for much longer. So,
Right.
how teachers see students for maybe that school year and then they say goodbye and they move on up, unless they loop or something like that. But
Right.
in my case, I'm seeing them year after year. And this being my 4th year, the growth that I've seen, the physical growth, the emotional growth, the
Yeah.
engineering in them has been phenomenal. So I do engineering right now, and I'm absolutely walking in a dream that I never imagined for myself.
Well, I just want you to know I'm tired just listening to
Oh,
all that you have done. And, I see different pictures from time to time that you have posted. I just saw the hotels that was designed, using cardboard, but just the
mhm.
innovative ideas that you bring to the classroom and how students just, I mean, are really just attracted to that. First of all, they're using their hands.
Yes.
And when they're using
Mhm.
their hands, they're using their brains. And that
Yes.
is just, it truly is what we need in today's schools. So I
That's
know
right.
that you're doing the work. One of the things I
100%.
made a commitment in, putting together this podcast. I would never not have a teacher on. So
Mhm.
whether it's every other week, twice a
Mhm.
month, or whatever it is, I have to have the voice of the teacher because you're the one that's on the front line. You're the one,
Yeah.
that first responder that's
Mhm.
working with our students. So I appreciate everything that you bring. I can just imagine the energy that you're bringing every single time you have 700 to 800 students through a 7-day rotation. That
Mhm.
boggles my mind. There are some schools that are not even 700 to 800 students across the
Yes.
board. And here you are working with every single student. So I'm going to say from the beginning, thank you for the work that you're doing. So,
Thank you.
I always say I want to be concise and precise in our work because I want to hear
Yeah.
more about what you're doing. I want to hear more about your voice. So,
Yeah.
Ekuwah, tell us today, what brings you to the work of educating today's youth and what keeps you doing the work?
Thank you for this question. What brings me to the work you probably know from the beginning of my family. I
Yes,
grew up in Warrensburg, Missouri. My
yes,
mother was African American. My father was an immigrant from Ghana, West Africa. And our home, I'm trying to show you for those listeners who don't see my background, my home was kind of like what you see in my background. I was immersed in books and literature and art and artifacts. This is one of them. And
yes.
what I'm holding up is, can you tell, Dr. Johnson, what this is? Put you on the spot. Can you
Uh,
tell?
it's a hand. Is it a hand?
And what is it holding?
I'm not sure what the holding.
Oh, it's an egg.
It's an egg. Okay, okay. I wasn't
Yes, and the
sure.
egg represents life, and life is
Ah,
precious. And
yes.
so
I love
in
that.
our home, we had all these artifacts and we had art and books. And I was a curious child, and I'm always asking my family questions. And my parents had the philosophy of understanding that not all education happens at school. So
Right.
everything in my environment was purposely put there, from magazines to musical instruments to The trips
Right.
that we took, everything was intentional. My parents were very intentional because they are generational thinkers and they wanted to make sure that they imparted in not just me, but in students like
Yes.
you at
Yes.
CMSU who had my mom as an
Yes.
advisor. They wanted to impart in people generational thinking that we are here for a purpose and we are here to help other people was their
Right.
primary thing. So the apple didn't fall far from the tree. I was immersed in this background. It brought me to the work and it keeps me doing this work. I still
Yes.
think and I still see the things that my parents surrounded me with, encouraged me with, taught
Yes.
me with, and I want to pass that on to not only my own children, but also to the children in the community, educators, and other people to know um, that they belong and that they are important. And I
Yeah.
like how you talked about that. Mm-hmm.
I have to stop right there because you
Yeah.
the word belong and that they are important. I mean, as I struggled trying to figure out, okay, I can see the hand, I can see dimensions of it, but when you pointed out that that was an egg, I mean, my mind just started racing because
Mm-hmm.
it does represent life, and that's what we bring to children. We bring that life, and we bring our energy, and we expose them to new things, to different things. That was the
Yeah.
beautiful thing about
Mm-hmm.
going into your mother's office. Like I
Mm-hmm.
said, I mean, I'm going back many years. I'm not even going to say how
Yeah.
many, but many years. And then even going through and looking at the things that your father had,
Mm-hmm.
as a professor and things at Central Missouri State University of Central Missouri, but the things
Mm-hmm.
that he brought
Yes.
to the table. I mean, I can't even imagine what the home was like. And
Yeah.
you got all those books back to behind you. Your
Mm-hmm.
life was immersed
Yeah.
with
Mm-hmm.
literacy and all those different things, and how that has prepared you for the work that you do right now. That is absolutely phenomenal. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And, when I was growing up with both of my parents working at the university, the books that I had were not really children's books. I didn't grow up with a lot of children's books. I grew up with a lot of older adult type books. And I even
Right.
have one of them here. This one is called Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe. And this is my father's original edition that
Wow.
I took. And it was one of the first books that I read. I mean, I read a lot growing up, and that
Wow.
book was very transformational to me. And then my mother, what being the artist, was always creating things. And
Yes.
I'll just share what another thing that brought me to the work is. This is my first book that I'm holding up
Yes.
here. If you can see on the cover, this is me.
Wow.
And mom passed away in 2017. And even though
Right.
she's not with us anymore, I can see all that she did. The title is Mobuku, which means my first book. And
Oh,
she did a great job of trying to teach me the language of my father's family and community, which is Fanti. And so she would teach us the colors and all kinds of things inside of
love it.
this book. And so because of that, that made me, be a reader and want to share and give back and show families. My work in family engagement was teaching families to make homemade books with their children.
Oh my gosh, you're taking us to a whole nother level. I absolutely love it. So, but I'm going to move to the next question, even though I
Yes,
could stay right there
yes,
where we are. The next
absolutely.
question is really the focus of our entire podcast. So,
Hmm.
from your perspective, from your lens,
Yeah.
what is the fierce urgency of now in today's schools?
I think the fierce urgency of now has to do with relationships with
Mm,
teachers, students, and families.
yes,
I've been
yes,
fortunate during my time in family engagement. I got to travel to Canada and work alongside Professor Dr. Debbie Pushore, and she talks about family centric schools and
yes,
how we need to
yes,
move away from school centric
right.
schools. And in family centric schools, you're talking about the whole child and what the child needs in relationship to their family. And I like your former guest, Larry Filazzo talking about, helping the family's interest and helping the family, because
Yes.
honestly, we need to get to the point that we're interconnected and realizing that you can't
Yes.
do one without the other. The child is like, I teach elementary school,
Uh-huh.
and many things are out of their control. The time
Yes.
they arrive at school is out of their control. Whether or not they were given food is out of their control. If
Right.
they have clean clothes is out of their control. So
That is
when
so
we
good.
think about
Yes.
a family centric approach, some of the things we can't, give them detention or give them some kind of consequence for
Right.
something that is out of their control. If we
Right.
want to get students to school, we need to think about what's happening in their family that is preventing them from coming. It's not
Right.
trophies and prizes and trinkets and all this stuff
Right.
that are going to get them there. You need to figure out, is it that they don't have food, they don't have transportation, they don't have lights? What is it in the
Right.
home that's
Right.
going on? Is mom or dad in jail? What is it? Are they strung out on drugs somewhere? Like,
Right.
what is it? Is the child having to do babysitting? We have students who have to stay home because even in elementary school, who
Right.
have to babysit a younger sibling. So
Right.
there's things that we need to think about. How can we do family centric schools and build those relationships to know who the students we are teaching and what they are facing and what they're bringing to our table, and being more trauma informed with that?
Believe me, you get a double take. This is my first time doing a double take. I'm telling you why, because you have talked about, family centric and not just focusing on the school. If we're going to change what is happening in our schools and the fierce urgency, we have to bring our families with us. We can't do it
Yeah.
without our families. We can't
Mm-hmm.
do it without mama and daddy and auntie and uncle and brother and
Yeah.
sister and grandma and
Yeah.
play grandma, play cousin, whoever it is,
Mm-hmm.
whoever makes up the village
That's
is who
right.
we have to reach out to. Because, and let me tell you one thing I've learned over
Mm-hmm.
my 30 plus years.
Yes.
When you raise up a child,
Yes.
you raise up a family,
Yes.
because that family starts to see what's happening with that child. That child is learning
Mm-hmm.
to read. That child is learning how to speak in complete sentences. And then that
Yeah.
family is listening and they're watching. And many of them start mimicking what is happening. And then the family comes to school and say, how can I learn this? And you don't sit down with the family and you talk about that education ease. We don't want to hear that mess.
Mm-hmm.
We want to connect with families. And
Mm-hmm.
that is what you've hit the nail on
Absolutely.
the head there today. So I appreciate that. Go ahead if
Thank
you have something
you.
else to add to that.
No, absolutely. I agree with
I love it.
everything you just said. Intergenerational learning is very
Yes,
important, and giving those opportunities, because we plant seeds that are going to go from generation to generation. And it's a
yes,
ripple effect when you teach a child something and they go home. Like in my engineering
yeah,
class, I like to
yeah,
give them something to go home and work on. Like, hey,
yeah.
we did a Lego zip line in class today. Do you think you could go home and do this at home? And then they start brainstorming all kinds of different ways. Well, I don't have this, but I have this. And
Right,
I'm like, absolutely. I want to light a fire that you just keep going. And then their families will see that they're excited and they'll
yeah,
be able to
yeah, yeah.
support them. And that's why I use cardboard, because everyone has access to
Right,
some form of cardboard at home. It doesn't,
yes,
STEM and engineering and all these things don't have to cost money. Mhm.
right, right. And I thought the cardboard was genius because students could see, oh, I can fold it, I can twist it, I can turn it, I can bend it. I can put
Mhm.
this piece of tape here. I mean, I just thought it was genius. I love the one that you had on the internet, where it showed the canopy, like where you check in. I mean, I love that. I mean, I thought not they don't just have a building, they
Mhm.
have the entrance way, and that
Yes.
just touched my heart. What grade
Yes.
level was that you were working with?
K through 5.
Oh my
So I
gosh, that they were
do it
building.
across levels because I like to see the vertical
Wow.
alignment. Mhm.
Right. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. This is so good. Like I said, you received a double tambourine shake because you talked about families. I'm not going to talk any more about families right now, but we'll get to that here in just a few minutes. I want to go to our very last question.
Mhm.
And I want to know from you,
Mhm.
what are you willing to disrupt, interrupt, and dismantle to ensure that students have access and opportunities to thrive. And I want you to really think about that word thrive, disrupt, interrupt, and dismantle. Think about
Yeah, for me, my top priority is interrupting the amount of time students are busy consuming content versus creating content.
Woo!
We
Woo!
need to get away
Lord.
from all the consuming and make them creators. That
Right,
would be the
right,
writers and the thinkers and the talkers. And
right,
so I want to interrupt the amount of time that teachers spend talking,
right,
less
right.
talk, more doing. Have the students creating things. And my top priorities are I use an acronym I've learned from the ELL community called SWIRL.
Okay.
Speaking, writing, interacting, reading, and listening should be present in every lesson. So
Say it
speaking,
for us one more time. Say it for us one more
yeah,
time, because somebody didn't get all of
no problem. So SWIRL is speaking, writing, interacting, reading, listening. And those should be in each and every lesson. So, in order to accomplish that, that means the teacher has to do less talking and let the students do more of the interacting, of the speaking, and giving them the conditions that will help them to become the creators.
that. That
And
is so
there's one
good.
more I would add to this too,
Okay.
is I would love to interrupt or dismantle the school day to allow more play. And
Okay.
play has become such a dirty word, like they think it's not academic. But when you really think about what play is, because
Uh-huh.
I also, the kindergartners call me the toy teacher because I use a lot of hands on things, all kinds of different materials, and they think that they're playing. And people say that play is a bad word. It actually isn't. When you really think about the four C's of critical thinking,
Right.
communication, collaboration, and creativity, that all happens during play. And
Right.
it's one of the only opportunities for the kids to be the decision makers. So we want to set up conditions where the kids are the decision makers. They are critically
Yes.
thinking. They are communicating with one another on things that interest
Wow.
them, their ideas, and seeing that I can do it. I can build a
Yes.
suspension
Yes.
bridge in
Yes.
kindergarten. I can build a zip line in kindergarten. I can build a hotel in
Yes.
kindergarten. All
Yes.
these different things, and they can work together with their peers. And so I am very fortunate and consider myself blessed to be in a classroom where I can facilitate what looks like play. But it's actually me setting up the conditions, the
Right.
constraints, the
Yeah.
criteria
Yeah.
for them to be able to problem solve in meaningful activities that they think are fun. And
Yes.
then the beautiful part is I get to end that time by having them write and reflect, which is some of the most powerful. And I get some amazing writers from the student writing from the students because they just engaged in what they thought was play,
Right.
structured,
Right. Right.
opportunities for them to learn. And I set it up in such a way that I don't have to do much talking really. I just talk for a few minutes to set it up and let them go, and I get out of the way. And then I just facilitate walking around, asking them questions to get them thinking. So I would disrupt the school day to allow more
Okay.
play if I could go back and to create more time for them to do less consuming,
Right.
because when we think about the time that they spend on digital devices at
Right.
home and at school, take
Right.
that away. They have opportunities for that at our school for sure. But with me, with the limited time that I have every 8 days or so, I'm going to disrupt that day and we're going to become creators so they can see themselves as makers and doers of the now. I love the podcast Fierce Urgency of Now. They are creators now,
Right.
writers
Right.
now,
Right now. Right now. I love this. I
now.
mean,
Yes.
you have absolutely said so much. There's no way I can even go back and capture all the words and things that you've said. But a couple that I just want to talk about, the swirl. I love that. I'm walking away learning a language that I did not even know. But I love that swirl. And just think if we, we always, years ago, we put what's your anticipatory set, what's your swirl? That's what I want to know. What's your
Mhm.
swirl? Okay, so maybe you have your essential question, but where are you swirling? And
Mhm.
throughout your lesson, how are you swirling? I mean, that's now I put a whole new connotation on that, but you know my heart and what I'm trying to say there. I mean, that is so absolutely powerful, and I love the fact that not being just focusing on consuming, but creating. You're so
Mhm.
right. Children consume so much every single day, but when
Mhm.
you get in there and you show students how to create and to build and how to construct. And I
Mhm.
love that how you're doing that lesson from kindergarten all the way up to fifth grade. Oh my gosh, I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall. I'm coming to Vegas and I'm coming to see you. I just want you to know that I'm coming because I want to be able to see that articulation from that um that 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 kindergarten class, that first grade class, that second grade class, that third grade class, that fourth
Mhm.
grade class, and that fifth grade class. There's so much that we can
Yes.
learn from each level. And then also looking at the writings of
Mhm.
what they're coming, that kindergarten, maybe they may only have one word or they may have a picture, but they have something. So
Yes.
anyway, so that is so absolutely phenomenal. So we just have
Mhm.
a couple more minutes. Gosh, I already know you're coming back. I already know you're coming back. I have to have you come back. But what I want you to do, I want you to talk to us just to take a couple minutes about and tell us about how people can connect with you. Um, tell them about your website. If you have anything else to share with us, just share. Just take these last couple minutes.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. I would be happy to connect with people. I am an open book in more ways than one. I do have a website. It's just my name, www.ekuwah.com, ekuwah.com. And so I put all kinds of resources and videos and handouts and things that people can download and look. I also have a link there for my first picture book, which is My Name is an
Yes,
Address.
yes.
And this book is available wherever online books are sold, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, wherever you buy your books. This is available. I have a second book that I've also written, Mama's Portraits and Me. This is also linked on my website as well. And I took my mom's art. So if you're interested in some of the things that are behind me, both of my books are a collection of my mom's art. Again, family is
Yes.
important to me, the things that were left behind. So those two books are linked there. I'm also available on social media platforms. I use Blue Sky, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I have a YouTube channel that I do post some of the videos from my classroom examples, little 1 minute clips, and some of the resources that I use too. Because again, I learn in community. I'm
Yeah.
better because of the educators who share things. So
Yes.
I like to
Yes.
reciprocate by also sharing the things that I'm learning and I'm doing. And
That
I
is
like
so
to
good.
gather ideas from others. So that's why I use social media and my website to hopefully pay it forward into other people as well. So,
That is powerful. I mean, you have so many resources, and I love the fact that you give back. I
mhm.
always like to try to end with something that I've learned. I've learned so much. I feel like I've been to a master class at things this evening. But the thing that I want to hang my hat on is family. You
Yeah.
talked about your family, and because of the fact that I've had a chance to experience your family, um,
Mhm.
your mother when she was here on this earth was such a beautiful soul. And when you
Yeah.
held up that second book and being able to see her face, I just put my hand over my heart because I thought, oh my gosh, that is her. And then I think about your father today that I still stay in contact
Yes.
with. He
Yes.
will text me, he will call me, or he will send me videos.
Yes.
So Reverend Men's, we're talking about you right now. But I love that connection and how, like I said, we didn't know one another growing up in the same
Yeah.
same town. We didn't
Yeah.
even know that teacher who had a
Mhm.
significant impact on our
Yes.
lives, in our
Yes.
lives. Mr. Ken Bell
Yes.
was the teacher for me and was the same teacher for you. I mean, one of the
Yeah.
teachers for you. That's mind boggling. Like I said, this
Yes.
full circle moment. So I appreciate all of your time. Now, I want to say
Oh.
this to the ones that are listening tonight. You have heard so absolutely much today. This is why that
Mhm.
I'm fulfilling this purpose and call that is on my
Yeah.
life to bring the fierce urgency of now because I want you to hear from educators that you may not know about Because if
Yeah.
you're wondering what hope looks like in today's schools, it's here. It's right here.
Yeah.
Ekuwah has given us an example of what hope looks like. She's given us many opportunities to engage in different thinking mindsets. That is so
Mhm.
absolutely powerful. So, Ekuwah, I thank you for what you've shared with us during this very short time. Like I
Yeah.
said, I already know I'm bringing you back. You know, I
Uh-huh.
started a few weeks ago a moment of hope. This is
Mhm.
hope. When you started talking about a family centric focus of our schools, that's a
Mhm.
moment of hope when we can bring our families in, just like our students need love, just like our parents need love, our entire families need
Yeah.
love,
Yes.
and our educators need love. It's hard
Yes.
out here.
It is.
It's hard out here. But when we come together, we can
Yes.
do it. I always
Absolutely.
say, doesn't make a difference what's going on in the world, how
Mhm.
dark it gets. It
Yeah.
can be done when hope. I know you see it over my shoulder there. Hope
Mhm.
is my anchor. I stand on hope when, regardless of what it looks like in this world. I
Mhm.
stand on hope. It's not a strategy. It's not a magical potion. I don't even believe in stuff like that. It is my anchor because when the storms of life come, don't make me sing it. When they come, and they will come,
Yes.
hope will keep you grounded. Larry Palazzo even said, hope can also be our compass and can give us
Yes.
direction on which way to go.
Yes.
So I thank you from
Yes.
the bottom of my heart for being
Oh.
here today. You know, I got to end it like I always do, regardless of how dark it gets. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Well, thank you for being here with me today.
Thank you. I'm humbled. I'm honored to walk alongside you. Thank you.
Thank you. And I just have to say this because I have to give you the props. This beautiful sign and that you see behind me, that is now my new logo, was created courtesy of Ekuwah Mends Moses. So thank you and bless you.
Thank you.